How's it going, everybody? This is Alex and welcome back to my Retail Basics Excel course. In the last episode we went through summing and subtotaling, mostly at a top level with the fake sales data that we have here, and just having a bit of a discussion about the use of both of those formulas and how to sort of use formulas. Now this episode might be a bit more of a step up, but I'm going to try and cover a lot of ground today. I'm going to talk about locking cells, locking them different ways. We're going to get into if formulas, which I think are probably the biggest step up you can do within basic level Excel formulas. And we're also going to go covering off averages, so the average formula, and we're going to cover off the average if formula as a segue after we've sort of explored the if formulas today. But first of all, let's get into the importance of knowing when you need to unlock your cells and when to have them locked and have them locked in different ways. So when you do a formula such as a sum, I'm going to just sum these first 7 values here, like we showed in the last episode. Now I'm going to get this annoying green tick, which I can't, I can ignore it if I want. But what happens when I drag this formula down is because it's unlocked, it will actually drag the formula itself down by 1 box. So if you saw in the first sum column, we had the first 7. Now we're not using the first cell in that sales column. We're now going down an extra 1, as in the boxes move down. And also, if I drag this formula to the left and also to the left and to the right, it will sum the same amount of cells in either direction. Because it's unlocked, it will do the exact same formula in whichever box you drag it into, left, right, vertical, or whatever. Now, locking cells is very important, and we're going to demonstrate why today. But as a quick overview, when you lock a cell, you will press the F4 key on your keyboard. I did that incorrectly. You'll want to do it before you close your parentheses, so let's do it before we close our parentheses. Press F4. You'll notice at the top you'll get these 2 dollar signs within your formula. What that now does is it'll lock your formula. So if I drag this formula down, if I drag it to the left, if I drag it to the right, it'll bring back the same values every time. So when I click in here, you can see that the formula's moved down 1 and to the right because I dragged the formula down 1 and to the right. When I've locked the formula, I have dragged down 1 to the right, but because I've locked it here, this isn't moving. And that's what we're going to be focusing a lot on today with the tasks that I've built for us to complete today with the if statements. But to cover off briefly, you can also lock things vertically. So if I do the same sum section and press F4 twice, you'll see only $1 sign will come up, and that'll be after the F. This now means that the cells are actually locked vertically. So if I drag this formula down, it will not move. It won't go down at all. But if I drag them across to the right, it will drag the formula across to the left or to the right. But dragging it down will not do anything. And when we get into some more advanced things like sum ifs and VLOOKUPs, this becomes very, very important, because they won't work if you're trying to make your life easy and not type out your formulas every single time, especially if you're trying to do very big sum if statements and whatnot. These locked vertical and locked horizontal calculations will save your life, particularly when I show you a really awesome trick with VLOOKUPs in a future episode. So with horizontal locking, you would just press the F4 button. Sorry, we're going to go down just 7 cells. You press the F4 button 3 times, and this time it'll lock things horizontally. This means that you can still drag the formula down as far as you like, but if you drag it to the right or if you drag it to the left, it will stay the exact same either way. So this is, these locked vertical and locked horizontal formulas will become a lot more useful when we get into the more higher level stuff in future episodes. Today we're going to be focusing primarily on locked. So with that all out of the way, let's get into the scenarios that I've cooked up for us today. So I've built us 3 scenarios, and I've also built us some calculation boxes that we're going to be looking into to complete these scenarios. And all the scenarios are going to be solved using an if formula, or a combination of if formulas. I'm going to solve scenario 1 in the green, scenario 2 in the yellow, and scenario 3 in the red, and they're going to be looking up things in these black boxes here. So let's read out scenario 1. All suppliers will give a 1% rebate per product on sales if the product has done more than the average total sales for the month. So rebates within retail is basically the supplier will give you some sort of money. It's usually on purchases, but in this case, this company has set up a deal with the supplier that if the sale of a product does more than the average total sales for the entire month, you'll get a 1% rebate, which is good. You'll get that. Basically, the supplier's giving you money. Now, this isn't strictly how rebates really work in real life from every business. It's just a fake scenario that I've come up with just so that we can put if statements or if formulas to the test. So what we're going to do first, we need to find what the total average sales for the month is. Now we can just click on this and go all the way down. We can look down to the bottom right of our monitor and see that it's $506,000, but we don't want to have to type that every time into our if formula to say, if it's greater than $506,000, we don't want it to be like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an average formula in here in this black box for the average sales. I'm just going to drag that all the way down here and close it off. So now we have our cell, $506,000 and 86 bucks spare. So now we know what our average sales is. We can now do an if statement to figure out whether or not we can get a rebate on the product in question. So an if statement, or an if, I keep calling them statements. They are really formulas. It's just a habit of mine. It says logical test. The logical test is basically, we're going to select the sales. That's our test. I'm going to see if they're greater than our average sales. Now, it's very important when the average sales is not going to change. We've done the average. That's the average for the department. We don't for this sales set. Sorry. We don't actually want this cell to move at all when we do this, when we drag this formula down to work out whether or not each line can get a rebate or not. So we're going to actually lock this cell. By locking it, when we drag this formula down, it's not going to move the average sales over here at all. This is going to stay locked in place. Okay. Now, if it is actually greater than $506,000, so the value, if true, we want it to say that it's got a rebate. So we're just going to put in quotation marks because we want it to return a text, rebate. And then if it's false, we want to say no rebate. And close our bracket and hit enter. So you can see here, the sales for July was $255,000. That's below $506,000, so therefore this line should not get a rebate from the supplier. If we drag this all the way down, we'll find that our average sales didn't move, but the sales amount that we're looking up has moved as we drag the formula down. Because we're not dragging it left and right, we don't have to worry about locking the original cell, the F2 or the F5. We don't have to worry about locking that or vertically locking it or anything like that. That'll become more apparent when we do more advanced VLOOKUPs in a future episode. But this will now tell us, and you can see here that these are all the products that we can get a rebate on. Okay, and this is something just to find out. This is a general statement that you could backwards, you could backwards work it to make it so that you're looking up something very specific in the department that your line manager or supervisor or whatever has asked you to look up into to see how something is going, and you want to give them a report that tells them what's going on. So the second scenario is where we're going to actually do a nested if statement. So we've actually got a criteria now, because in the first scenario, all the suppliers have agreed we'll give a 1% rebate if the product does more than the average total sales for the month. Okay. In scenario 2, however, all suppliers will give a 1% rebate on sales, but Bad Drinks Incorporated will only provide the rebate if its products have done more than the average total sales for the month. So this time, all the suppliers, irrespective of if it's beaten the average or not, will give a 1% rebate. So we want to be able to say that if the company isn't Bad Drinks Incorporated, it's going to give us a rebate. And if it is a product from Bad Drinks Incorporated, we need to find out whether or not it's done below $506,000 and therefore it won't give a rebate. So the way we're going to do this is by first checking, the easiest way to do this, right, is to find out whether or not the product's done more than $506,000 in sales. Because at that point, it doesn't matter which company it's from, it's guaranteed to be giving a rebate because all the suppliers will give a rebate of 1%, and Bad Drinks Incorporated will give a rebate of 1% because the sales will be above $506,000. So we're going to start the if statement the exact same way we started it last time. If the sales here are greater than our average sales, and do not forget to lock the cell, then give a rebate. However, if they are below, in this case, which would be false, below $506,000, we're going to do another if statement. So only if the product is doing less than $500,000 of sales will you trigger this if statement. This if formula, apologies, I keep saying statement, they're the same thing. Now, we're going to check if the supplier is equal to Bad Drinks Incorporated. Okay. So what the formula effectively is saying now, if your sales are above $506,000, you get a rebate. If not, is your product from Bad Drinks Incorporated? If that answer is true, then you will not get a rebate because their supply has a stipulation now. Whereas if they're not a product that's by Bad Drinks Incorporated, you will get a rebate because they have already told you that they will. Now, because we've done two formulas within, you'll have to probably do a second bracket at the end. You'll notice that the brackets, when you look within the actual formula, will have a red and then it'll finish with red and then the start one will start with black. When you put another bracket in, it'll temporarily go bold and that'll show you that you've successfully put enough brackets within the formula to close it off. So we'll hit enter. Now we can see no rebate. Okay. You can do a quick sense check to make sure that all the suppliers that aren't Bad Drinks Incorporated are triggering the rebate. All the suppliers here are now giving a rebate, whereas before they were not. And if we go into Bad Drinks Incorporated, all the products that weren't giving a rebate before won't be giving a rebate anyway. So you actually find out that this is more of a test of providing a statement where it's actually saying, say yes to all the suppliers that aren't Bad Drinks Incorporated and give them a rebate this time, because the Bad Drinks Incorporated is still giving a rebate based on the average sales, whereas in the first scenario, everyone was doing that. Okay. Now the last one, this is where Cronker Company will give a 5% rebate per product based on the average sales of products doing more than $500,000 in sales for the month. So what Cronker Company is saying in this instance, and I mean, I could have worded this maybe a bit better, but what Cronker Company is saying is that if the total sales for everything, you're taking all of your sales, but we're not including things that have done less than $500,000 in a month. If the sales are above the products that are doing more than $500,000 a month, if it's above the average of that, then we'll give you a 5% bonus rebate or a 5% extra rebate. So we're already going to give you 1% rebate if it's above the average, but if it's above an average of products that are doing more than 500K, we're going to give you extra. So what we need to do now is we need to find out what that average actually is. So that's where the average if formula is going to come into play. So if we go average if in our second black box and take our range, which is the July sales, and our criteria now, we'll have to do this in quotation marks, is greater than 500,000. Our average range again, it's the same range, it's not changing. Close the brackets. we'll now find that when we exclude products that have done less than $500,000 worth of sales, and we can also do this just to do a quick sense check. We can go into here and go greater than 500,000, and we could just quickly go over all these cells and it'll say the exact same thing, 715,874. Okay, just to be sure that the formula is working and I'm not talking out of my ass. So now we now know that when we exclude products that are doing less than $500,000 worth of sales, the average now becomes $715,000 in sales. So are there any products that Cronker Company has access to? Sorry, are there any products that we stock from Cronker Company that will be eligible for this 5% extra rebate? So in the last if statement, we actually basically asked if the sales are above $506,000, give us a rebate. That was the true statement, and then we did a nested if statement within false. Now you can do it the other way around, which is what we're going to be doing now. But this time we're actually going to be going ahead and checking if the supplier is equal to Cronker Company. And then if that is true, then we're going to actually check if the sales are above average. Okay, so we're now, instead of doing something if it's false, we're now checking something if it's true, because we only want to look at Cronker Company. Bad Drinks Incorporated and Son of Stars, they aren't going to give you any sort of 5% bonus rebate whatsoever. They're not part of this exclusive deal like the Cronker Company has come up with. So we want to check this time if the product is even from Cronker Company, and if it is, then we want to do our test. If it is, we are going to get, if it is, we are going to get the extra rebate. If not, no extra rebate. And then of course, we should close our bracket because we're closing that if statement off. Now we're going to do another comma because we're basically checking, we're finishing the original formula. The formula originally was if this is equal to Cronker Company, then check if it's higher than the average sales above 500K. And if it is, we get the extra rebate. If not, we don't get the extra rebate, which means if the product originally wasn't from Cronker Company, then you're not going to get the extra rebate now, are you? Because the other companies haven't agreed to it. And voila. So a quick spot check should tell us, if we go into Bad Drinks and Son of Stars, both of these guys shouldn't be giving an extra rebate at all. We know that. But if we go to Cronker Company, we'll find that the Coca-Cola 375ml and the Coca-Cola 1.25 litre have both done above the average sales, which is this here, and have done remarkably well, so therefore we would get the extra rebate from them. Now, that there sort of covers off if statements or if formulas. Sorry, I keep saying statements. This is really, really helpful when you, particularly when you need to look at multiple different things. I find that when you try and keep things simple with if, or you want to do nested ifs, your life will be very easy. Otherwise, if you're finding that you have to do multiple different ifs back to back, because then you have to check if something's true, if something's false, and then check if the next thing is true and false, and then go back to the original formula, it does start to get a bit messy. So I would try not to do too many of these put together because it can give you a bit of a headache. But otherwise, I hope this has covered off the importance of locking your cells, the average formula, the average ifs, the average if formula, as well as the if formula and how to put nested if formulas within your work to find out something more specific within a data range. Thank you so much for watching.